Everybody, this is Rangadad, not financial advice, just the way I'm looking at the market. So finally hit that 67,200 mark from the last week or so. That's kind of been the first target to the downside, or one of the main targets to the downside anyway. As I said in the live yesterday, it kind of surprised me a little bit that we did bottom here, but that was also shaping up to be a really good bottom pattern through there. We'll get to that to a second, but just want to have a quick look at this. We haven't like that there's still showing up as being sort of the most prominent bottoming signal. This one here actually does look pretty solid as well. Not obviously as good as this, but at least we got the long term. Perp funding rate is turned red as well. So the 7 days red, most of the others have at least had a bit of red in them. So we could be getting close. Obviously, there's a fair chunk of orders in just below here down to about 66,500. That level is a little bit of a concern as well. That it is target for a few other things. So I'll keep that in the back of our mind. Interestingly, bybit didn't hit as low as Binance. So typically bybit will go lower than Binance. But let's have a look and see where we think it might go. It's good to note there's a lot of liquidations above price at the moment. We're starting to really build that up. As you can see, a lot of shorts coming in along this level. I wouldn't be surprised if we go straight into that and take the 68,200 level just to get rid of $100 million out of someone's pocket. The other thing too is, and I forgot to show this yesterday, but so the 1 day has been more overweight on the upside the last couple of days, so that's flipped, but also the 7 day has well and truly flipped. So that's a good sign. We kind of want this to be happening so that price wants to move into that area. It wants to balance these out. The only issue in the back of my mind is, to balance this one out, we'd have to still come back to about the 64,400 level. That there would be 5.83, and at the moment the imbalance is 9.6 to 6.1. So we don't necessarily have to come back that far. Yeah, probably down in the 65,500 level would for the most part balance that out. It's just whether or not now with Wall Street involved, are we going to see more swinging up and down? Are we actually going to get as many just straight shots to the upside? Or is it just what Bitcoin does, which is basically sucking in as much liquidity as possible, and then when everyone's tired and got no money left, then it rips to the upside? And that could be what's happening. So again, fairly critical levels coming into the election, which you'd have to expect. There's stocks and everything normally comes into critical levels when you get a key news event. So I'm out of all my hedges at the moment and slightly into the negative now. So just kind of waiting on this to play out. I might actually, if I think it's going to drop further than this, I'll probably even take a loss on some of the longs just to reposition it a bit. But that 65,700 level for the 50 EMA is an interesting level. Still not confident we'd get there, but obviously you got the wick on this daily vector candle here to worry about. It is a good sign that we're kind of resetting BBWP. Still a good level, like a turnaround of BBWP at this sort of level does not hurt at all. But yeah, we want to see a proper turnaround, and the amount of times Bitcoin does 6 red days in a row is pretty rare. Like even in these big dumps here, you got 3 in a row, you got 4 in a row. It is super rare for Bitcoin to do 6 in a row. There's a 6 in a row there. The one thing that does concern me, it typically ends in a vector candle with a lot of volume. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, with a big move, a big flush. So that might be worth watching. Make sure you got a bit of freeboard in your stop losses there if you're running longs. Yeah, there's just not that many instances where Bitcoin does more than 6 in a row. Anyway, so it hasn't really changed much, aside from we've now. Why wasn't that shown before? Interesting. We've now tapped into the value area high, which has been a fairly good level for bounces on the shorter time frames and even on the longer time frames. Obviously, this level changes as the trading period changes, just because I've got it anchored to a certain level before this range. This volume profile is basically just for this range here. And it's the 40% level for the value area high. So that's a good test of that level. Just flick over to Binance, just see whether Binance has done the same. Don't have the volume profile on it. Damn it. I won't waste time on that one, but yeah, it's interesting that we have hit the value area high. Come on, where's my volume profile? Annoying. All right. High term time frames. The bi-weekly has stochastic momentum ticked to the upside. My momentum signal is a little bit different to what Crown uses, but Crown shows that his has flicked over to the upside as well. Offload BBWP. That is typically aligns with pretty big moves. So again, flick to the upside, big move up, tick to the upside. This is obviously after a big bear market, but that ticks to the upside and then off to the races. Same thing there. This is on bybit, obviously. I think if we go to messy chart, sorry. Yeah, tick to the upside, tick to the upside of low BBWP. even though it was up in the bullish control zone anyway. Decent move after that one. Decent move after that one. You're talking still 30-40% after that. So that's kind of a good sign. That's a very bullish sign. There hasn't been really that many instances where you've seen a turnaround in momentum like that. It has been bearish. Thought there might be a level through there, but 5 day and the 2 day. 5 days got another day left on it. My stochastic momentum on that's actually ticked to the downside, but not super concerned about that. It's still in the bullish control zone, so just need a reversal on it. Just recovered that vector candle basically, and that we have hit some key shorter term vectors as well, which I'll get to in a minute. So the 2 days actually just bouncing off the 13 EMA by the look of it. Still got a day left though. Yeah. So yeah, we kind of need to turn around pretty soon. I think here. I mean, if we play out this trend line, then this day could actually finish worse. But as you can see, it's not really something I use for picking up trends. It's just we want this to flip to the upside reasonably soon, like today or tomorrow. Otherwise, I'll be still up for that 64,400 zone if we don't. That's kind of my next target. I don't think there's going to be a lot stopping it from getting to that point from here if it breaks down. It's really just that value area high that's holding it at the moment. So longs have still ticked down. So still seems like there's some people taking profit at this level. Not exactly ripping to the downside, but it looks like they're in a take profit kind of move or mood at these levels. So I think that's something to keep an eye on. As I said yesterday, I think we're in more of this kind of region at the moment where we've had all the accumulation, and as it's going up from here, you're going to see more sort of big drops in this Bitcoin longs. As we get higher and higher, they're just going to be taking profit on the way up. Okay. Watch out for these little accumulation areas. So once we hit a new level and go a little bit sideways, you'll probably get a little bit of accumulation and then it'll start dropping again. So dropping on this now has flipped from like where it was here. I was calling these little drops as signs that we were heading down but going to find a base soon. And as soon as you start seeing that tick up again, you know that we're going to base out. This one here, it's now the opposite really. If you start to see this dropping hard and then slowing down in the drop, that means you've probably hit a local high and time to take a bit of profit and get ready for the next move. That's going to be the way I'm looking at that chart now. Interesting, CC's indicator had a few sell signals on this drop. Still showing sell signals. The 4 hourly must be in a very bearish posture, I'd say, on this. Not yet. It's about to close though, so for the majority of this 4 hour, I'd say the volume's actually been been pretty decent. Yeah, that's interesting. We kind of need to reverse that signal. I do think it's basically a sweep though. Bit of a tick up on that RSI there. Potential reversal zone in there. I think like we're getting back up to these levels. I don't think we're going to reverse. Volume point of control. So a retest of that and then a push away would probably not be out of the question. Now the messy charts. So on the 15-minute yesterday, this was a really good base. Good W pattern, broke this level here, came back, retested the top of that W pattern, but it failed to get through the 1 hour 200 EMA. So decent rejection candle off that. It looked like it was going to find support along this trend line here, but obviously it failed that as well. And as soon as we broke through that, downside was to be expected. It didn't come back up and really retest that level. Maybe they were going off the wicks or something, but actually, yeah, on the wicks it did. But yeah, decent move to the downside. We've swept the lows. We're at the 786 level here. If we break below that 786 level, which is drawn on the wicks of this move from bottom to top, break of that to the downside could actually be quite bearish. And we do have all these vectors sitting in here at the bottom, which is around that 65,500 level. So keep an eye out for the breaks to the downside. It could be a fairly quick flush. It's not going to be pretty if that happens. There will be a hell of a lot of liquidity wiped out, which lately Bitcoin has been loving doing that. So this was the key reason I sort of had 67,200 on there. 67,200 is basically the bottom of this vector candle. It was the top of the value area high on the daily. And it's basically the 786 fib on this move. So that's my bottom point. If we break below that, it'll be full expected 65,500. But it would probably do it pretty quickly. And like when you look at how far we are away from that at the moment, 67,200, we did that move in an hour, basically, a bit over an hour from this point, like a week and a bit ago. So not out of the question. Just be careful. It could even come down into the low 65,250 area just to pick this vector candle up as well. That's a pretty decent vector on a wick, like with a wick. So if we break below that, then it's just going to shit, really. Going to hell in a handbasket. 64,400 would swipe the bottom of this. Then obviously you got these vectors in here, which, I mean, if we hit 62,500-ish on this move, I would be very surprised. What's that level on here? So, yeah, 62,500 is basically the bottom of this candle, which would pull us pretty well all the way back into that 200 EMA. Oh, Christmas will be cancelled if that's the case. Nah, I mean, realistically, where we're at the moment, let's just do a fib. It's not a fib, is it? That's the fib. No, that's long position. Sorry. if you took this as one big move, we're sitting on the 382 level. The 05 levels is basically 66,500, which was a level to look at. 618's at 64,500, which is pretty close to that 64,400 level we were talking about. And then obviously you're back into that low 62s where it needs to find some support. At each one of those levels, you got an EMA there coming into that same sort of level as well. So let's just fingers crossed that the election goes okay, and we find the bounce off the value area high. Otherwise, we'll be looking at these sort of targets here. But there's a lot of people sort of panicking at the moment as well. The other thing to look at, let's go with the other thing to keep in mind. Let's have a quick look at bybit and coin. I wanted to see coin because obviously it doesn't trade over the weekends. Oh man. So date range is okay. Yeah, coin's picked up a couple of decent trades at the bottom here. They would almost certainly be buys. So the 9th biggest trade and the 19th biggest trade of all time at those levels. And we'll see if BlackRock's ETF got any over the weekend. Takes a while to load these charts. I meant to do it before I came on. Nothing yet. A little bit concerning. What I'd love to see is a big dark pool transaction at this level. The fact that we haven't got one could just mean these guys are just holding, just hodling. So the orange ones are dark pool, so it's between institutions or on their own trading platforms. Blue ones are the platforms that you and I can buy it on. So, I mean, that's still a massive trade. I'd be surprised if that was a sell. Obviously, there's been downside since then, but typically these guys don't buy and then worry about a 2-3% move. Yeah. So nothing really showing us the way there. What was the B? It's healthcare. Crap. Which one was it? It was. I don't know how to get there. I do spy, it'll tell me I can't do spy, but I can do all these other ones. I think it was XLC, maybe. Communications. Might not have been that. Geez, they got a good price for that. Wasn't comms. Wasn't utilities, wasn't energy. Maybe it was on. Well, metals. Let's see, this was biotech. Biotech's getting some trades at the highs here. Not huge ones, but real estate. Wish you could set defaults on these things. Might have to see there's some settings on it, but every time I load them up, I've got to change those. This was actually one of the ones I saw. So, pretty decent buys. They're not ranking in terms of all-time levels, but pretty decent buys at the bottom here that have led to bounces today. If the real estate sector was in the shitter, then generally the US economy would be in the shitter, and then you'd have to be a bit more worried about it. But the fact that people are buying the dip in here suggests to me that we might be bottoming on the markets relatively soon. I'd be surprised if they're selling at these points. Could be wrong, but wait, there was a freaking technology one. Anyway, I'll find it for tomorrow. I'll have a look at it. But there was a decent buy at the bottom on the technology ETF. So that's about it for today, I think. Just got to watch these levels. A break at the 67,200 level, you're looking at probably mid 65s, to be honest. I don't know that anything in the area of 66 will actually hold it. There's not a lot at that point. We've already picked this one up here. We picked that vector candle up. There's not a lot to stop it. A sweep of 66,500 would be the play. Like there is levels below that. Actually, sorry. Another thing I forgot to look at was the heat map. So obviously quite a few longs coming in below that level. A pretty good level for a long. It already looks like it wants to come down and sweep that actually. So 66,800. It's building a lot of shorts to the upside by doing these sort of moves. Just keep going out and seeing, a lot of shorts coming into that 70K level. But most of these are fairly new orders, so I'm not super concerned about them. But they are pretty decent volume. There's actually the volumes on some of these levels are quite high compared to what they have been over the last few months. It seems to be growing interest in both long and short positions in Bitcoin at the moment. I don't necessarily trust that volume number, but use it more as a weighting or an importance for different levels. So see, there's not a huge amount below us when we get out to the longer time frames. Like not a lot that's come in the last week now. This is a different story though. So the last 2 weeks, there is still quite a bit below, especially compared to what's above. But a sweep of that low down to 67K wouldn't be unheard of. It's just whether it wants more of this sort of area, which hard to say at this stage. We just got to hold that value area high, I think. There's a few decent levels in here now. Yeah, I think like you're going to fall pretty quickly through these levels if it wants to sell off. Typically, it wants to go where the liquidity is. It'd have to be a fair push just to get it down into these areas. I think they're going to get a lot of buyers coming in because we've got this building of long positions all through here. This open interest is just still increasing. Like we flattened off a little bit through the pullback. Now we're starting to build again. That's a fairly good sign that things are going to push up as well. Okay. Yeah, it's choppy. It's choppy at the bottom here. I think that's just the election doing that. It's picked up key level 67,200. It's a good level for a turnaround. Just want to see decent structure moving out and no breaks to the downside of those wedges again would be handy. That's like the second time in a week it's broken a really good wedge pattern to the downside, which is why you never really play wedges like that to the upside all the time. Theoretically, that should be the break to the upside because it means they're not able to push it as low each time. So you're gaining momentum to the upside, but quite often they do actually break to the downside. That's about it, I think. Open interest increasing is good, especially since it sort of spiked as it was coming down here. All right, that'll do, I think. Today we're just waiting and watching this particular level. Could come back up into here a little bit more, would be handy, but I think bounce around 67,700 in the short term should lead to a bit more upside. We did break straight through the 50 EMA yesterday on the first try. So yeah, we pushed up. Actually, yeah, kind of took a couple of tries, really. Then pushed through pretty good. Failed the 200, so it's probably going to be something similar to this. If we are going to go to the upside, you're going to expect something similar to this. A few tries at the 50, a few tries at the 200, a few tries at the 800. We just want to break that 800. That's going to be the key level to really suggest that we're going to the upside. Break of the 800, retest, and then move away. The retest could be on the 5-minute time frame as well. Doesn't have to be, especially if we're moving quickly into a bull posture. Doesn't really have to be on the longer time frames. You can, like it's the hourly 200, you can retest that a day or two into the future and it will still be useful. But yeah, it'll be an interesting run up. I don't think it's going to be like previous bull runs. I think it's going to be quicker take profits from the big guys. And I think that the volume leader stuff, the dark pool activity is going to really show us what's going on and good levels for take profits. Okie dokie. Yeah, pretty postured to the downside, but bit of a tick up in pretty well all the indicators off this low here. From reasonable levels again, like they're both, the mid band of these indicators is both below the midline. You kind of want your moves to start from below there just so they got plenty of room to move. All right. Catch us later.